The tension was almost unbearable from the moment the cameras started rolling. You could feel it in the air, every word, every glance, every hesitation charged with anticipation. Ice wasn't here to play games, and Queenzflip quickly realized that this wasn't going to be a normal podcast conversation. What started as a routine discussion on the Joe Budden podcast spiraled into a full-blown clash that had fans on the edge of their seats. As the dialogue unfolded, Ice's patience began to crack. His sharp delivery and pointed observations caught Queenzflip off guard, exposing moments of weakness and hesitation that nobody in the room could ignore. Listeners could almost feel the awkwardness radiating through the screen. It wasn't just uncomfortable, it was explosive. Every response from Queenzflip seemed calculated, yet it only fueled Ice's frustration, escalating the tension to a point where the confrontation became inevitable. Fans online erupted instantly. Clips of the awkward exchange spread like wildfire across social media, with reactions ranging from shock to amusement. Memes, debates, and reaction videos popped up by the thousands, dissecting every pause, every facial expression, and every verbal jab. People were asking, did Ice finally put Queenzflip in his place? How long can this awkward energy last before it blows up even bigger? This wasn't just a moment, it was a lesson in respect, timing, and authority. Ice proved that when provoked, he could command attention, control the narrative, and hold nothing back. And for Queenzflip, it was a wake-up call the world witnessed in real time. The aftermath? Chaos, debate, and anticipation. Fans everywhere are asking, what happens next? By the time the awkward moment had passed, the energy in the room was still thick, almost suffocating. Ice had made his point, but the confrontation wasn't over, it had only just begun. Queenzflip, visibly rattled, tried to recalibrate, to regain control of the conversation, but Ice's presence dominated every corner of the room. Every subtle smirk, every shift in posture, every emphasis in tone reminded everyone watching that this was not a simple disagreement, this was a power play. For weeks leading up to this podcast, rumors had circulated about tensions between Ice and Queenzflip. Sources close to both parties hinted at private disagreements, subtle jabs on social media, and moments of disrespect that had been left unresolved. The Joe Budden podcast, known for its candid, unfiltered conversations, had inadvertently become the stage for a collision that fans had been waiting for but few expected to unfold so publicly. As the conversation progressed, Ice's composure remained deceptively calm, but every line he delivered carried the weight of years of experience and street credibility. Queenzflip attempted to respond with his own points, but the awkward tension made each rebuttal feel forced, rehearsed, or incomplete. Fans watching live described the energy as electric, uncomfortable, and explosive all at once. The room had become a pressure cooker where one misstep could ignite a full-blown public backlash. Social media exploded within minutes of the clip going live. Reactions ranged from shock to amusement, with fans dissecting every frame. Memes highlighting Queenzflip's pauses, Ice's sharp glances, and the awkward silences went viral almost instantly. Twitter threads debated who had the upper hand, Instagram Reels highlighted the most dramatic exchanges, and YouTube commentators uploaded reaction videos dissecting every subtle gesture. Every person watching became a part of the conversation, analyzing body language, tone, and delivery like forensic experts. Industry insiders noted that Ice's approach was strategic. He didn't just aim to embarrass Queenzflip, he intended to command respect, control the narrative, and assert dominance in a public forum. Every word was carefully chosen, every inflection calculated to maximize impact without crossing into chaos. It was a masterclass in confrontation, showcasing how influence and credibility can shift dynamics even in a live, unpredictable setting. Meanwhile, Queenzflip struggled to maintain composure. His attempts to counter Ice's points often fell flat or were interrupted by Ice's sharp interjections. The awkward energy intensified, creating a dynamic where the audience could almost feel the tension pressing down on everyone in the room. It was more than uncomfortable, it was historic in its intensity. The raw, unfiltered exchange was a reminder of how public confrontations can magnify even minor slights into cultural moments. Fans immediately began theorizing about the deeper context. Was this confrontation purely personal? Were there financial or professional disputes underlying the tension? Industry veterans speculated that this exchange could have long-term consequences, influencing relationships, collaborations, and reputations in ways that casual viewers couldn't yet see. The beef wasn't just about words, it was about power, perception, and legacy. As the podcast continued, the conversation shifted between past grievances, subtle jabs, and attempts at asserting dominance. Ice carefully referenced moments where respect had allegedly been compromised, using examples that were sharp but factual enough to leave little room for denial. Queenzflip, on the defensive, tried to redirect the narrative but struggled under the weight of Ice's delivery. Every comment, every reaction was analyzed by fans in real time, with live streams and reaction posts dissecting the nuances. The aftermath of the confrontation extended far beyond the podcast itself. Clips went viral, fan debates intensified, and even mainstream media outlets began reporting on the incident. The story became more than just a feud between two individuals. It evolved into a cultural phenomenon, highlighting the power dynamics of modern hip-hop and the impact of live, unscripted confrontations. It was clear that Ice had successfully asserted dominance in the conversation, leaving Queenzflip on the defensive and the audience captivated. Social media buzzed with speculation, memes, and reactions, while insiders predicted that this moment could trigger a ripple effect in the industry, influencing alliances, collaborations, and the public's perception of both artists. This wasn't just a podcast clip, it was a lesson in control, timing, and the art of confrontation, demonstrating how a single moment can ignite discussions, divide opinions, and redefine reputations in ways that last long after the cameras stop rolling. The world had seen Ice assert dominance and Queenzflip struggle to regain control, but the fallout was just beginning. The podcast clip had gone viral within hours. Fans replayed every awkward pause, every sharp glance, every pointed comment, dissecting them with the precision of analysts. Memes exploded across social media, reaction videos filled YouTube, and Twitter debates raged about who had won the exchange. For Ice, this was more than a moment of confrontation. It was a public statement of influence, authority, and respect in the hip-hop community. Behind the scenes, insiders revealed that tensions had been simmering long before the cameras rolled. Social media interactions, subtle disses, and previous encounters had built up a complex web of rivalry. Ice had strategically chosen the Joe Budden podcast as the stage because he knew it would amplify his voice, ensuring that every word reached millions while leaving Queenzflip exposed. Every line, every inflection, and every subtle movement had been meticulously calculated to assert control without crossing into outright chaos. Queenzflip, meanwhile, found himself under intense pressure. His attempts to counter Ice's points often came off as forced or poorly timed, and the awkwardness in the room only heightened. Observers noted how Ice used silence as a weapon, pausing deliberately after a pointed comment to let the weight of his words sink in. Queenzflip's reactions, hesitations, stammers, and small defensive gestures were magnified by the cameras, creating a feedback loop of tension that made the exchange even more uncomfortable for the audience. As fans analyzed every moment, speculation about the underlying causes of the beef skyrocketed. Was it personal? Professional? Financial? Theories ranged from jealousy and past slights to disputes over influence, street credibility, and respect. Hip-hop forums and fan pages dissected every social media post leading up to the podcast, attempting to connect the dots. Every tiny detail was treated as evidence, fueling speculation that this confrontation was only the first chapter in a much larger saga. Industry insiders also weighed in, noting that Ice's approach was a masterclass in controlling the narrative. Unlike many public beefs that spiral out of control, Ice maintained a strategic edge. He spoke with authority, referenced specific events, and leveraged Queenzflip's awkwardness to highlight perceived weaknesses, all while keeping his own credibility intact. Fans watching recognized the subtle brilliance. Ice wasn't just attacking. He was asserting dominance in a way that reinforced his reputation and influence. Social media amplified the drama in real time. TikTok creators remixed clips of the exchange into viral snippets, Twitter threads dissected each reaction, and Instagram posts highlighted the most uncomfortable moments. Memes comparing Ice's dominance to Queenzflip's flustered responses went viral almost instantly. Even casual viewers who weren't originally invested in the rivalry were drawn in, captivated by the raw tension and emotional intensity. The confrontation had become more than a podcast, it was a cultural event. Meanwhile, the aftermath created waves beyond the digital world. Radio stations discussed the exchange during morning shows, podcasts dedicated full episodes to analyzing the confrontation, and hip-hop blogs created detailed breakdowns of body language, tone, and delivery. Everyone was trying to determine what this meant for both artists' reputations. Was Ice solidifying his authority in the scene? Would Queenzflip recover credibility, or had this moment irreversibly shifted public perception? The situation escalated further when fans started drawing comparisons to historic rap confrontations. Some argued that Ice's handling of Queenzflip mirrored classic power moves from the golden era of hip-hop beefs, where control over narrative and respect was often more important than physical confrontations or diss tracks. Others suggested that Queenzflip's inability to maintain composure would haunt him in future collaborations and social media interactions, creating long-term repercussions. Amid all this, Ice's camp reportedly began planning strategic follow-ups. Social media posts, interviews, and subtle public appearances were timed to maintain attention on the narrative, keeping fans engaged while reinforcing Ice's dominance. Queenzflip, on the other hand, was reportedly receiving advice on damage control, how to regain composure, redirect the conversation, and protect his public image after such a widely shared awkward moment. The tension between proactive strategy and reactive defense highlighted how high the stakes had become. The conversation also sparked broader debates about respect and accountability in hip-hop. Fans and analysts questioned how public confrontations like this shape perceptions of credibility, influence, and authenticity. Ice's approach demonstrated that a single carefully executed moment could reshape public perception, turning an awkward interaction into a lesson in control and narrative power. Queenzflip's reactions, meanwhile, were scrutinized for what they revealed about emotional control, confidence, and preparedness in high-pressure scenarios. As the dust settled temporarily, one thing became clear: the Joe Budden podcast had delivered more than entertainment. It had delivered a lesson in strategy, reputation management, and public confrontation. Ice had successfully leveraged the platform to assert his dominance, while Queenzflip's struggles highlighted how quickly a carefully curated public image can be challenged in real time. Fans continued to debate, speculate, and analyze, keeping the story alive long after the cameras stopped rolling. Industry insiders predicted that this confrontation could influence how artists approach future podcasts, interviews, and public interactions. The viral nature of the clip underscored a new reality in hip-hop. Moments captured on camera are permanent, analyzed, and often magnified far beyond the participants' control. The narrative had shifted from a single awkward exchange to a pivotal moment in both artists' careers. Ice had successfully demonstrated control, authority, and strategic dominance. Queenzflip had become the center of discussion for his awkward handling of the situation. Fans, analysts, and fellow artists alike were left questioning what would happen next and whether this confrontation was a temporary embarrassment or the start of a longer, more public rivalry. The stakes were high, the tension was real, and the story was far from over. Every fan, every commentator, and every observer was now waiting for the next move, because in hip-hop, a single moment like this can escalate, snowball, and reshape reputations faster than anyone could predict. The air was still thick with tension long after the cameras had stopped rolling. What had started as a simple podcast discussion had now transformed into a full-blown cultural event. Fans, insiders, and fellow artists alike were dissecting every awkward glance, every pause, every jab, and every comeback. Ice had already established dominance, but the story was far from over. In fact, in the world of hip-hop, The aftermath often carries more weight than the original confrontation. Social media erupted instantly after the clip went viral. Twitter threads exploded with debates dissecting who had won, who had lost, and who looked the weakest. TikTok users remixed the most dramatic moments, exaggerating facial expressions and awkward pauses for comedic effect, while Instagram pages posted highlight reels with captions dripping in drama. For many, this wasn't just a clip, it was a lesson in power, respect, and strategy in front of millions of viewers. Insiders close to ICE revealed that the timing of the podcast had been deliberate. Every question, every segment, and even the order of discussion had been subtly planned to put Queenzflip on the defensive. ICE's calm yet commanding demeanor wasn't a coincidence. It was a calculated display of authority, showing everyone watching that he could control not only the room, but the narrative itself. Queenzflip, meanwhile, found himself under intense scrutiny. Every online post, every comment, and every interview after the podcast was dissected for signs of recovery or further weakness. Industry veterans noted that public confrontations like this often define reputations for months, if not years, and the stakes had never been higher. Queenzflip's missteps were magnified tenfold, making it clear that a single awkward moment can leave a lasting impression in the digital age. The fallout spread beyond social media. Hip-hop blogs, radio stations, and podcasts dedicated episodes to analyzing the confrontation. Industry insiders debated the long-term implications. Would Queenzflip's credibility take a hit? Would ICE solidify his dominance in the eyes of the fans? Could this confrontation influence future collaborations or create divisions in the community? Analysts agreed on one thing: this moment had permanently shifted the narrative, and everyone in the industry was paying attention. Fans also began speculating about what had gone on behind the scenes. Rumors circulated about private tensions, unspoken rivalries, and subtle provocations leading up to the podcast. Many argued that Queenzflip had underestimated ICE's strategy, stepping into a situation where the stakes were far higher than anticipated. Others claimed that ICE's sharp, calculated demeanor was a lesson for all artists. In hip-hop, every word, gesture, and pause is scrutinized, and one misstep can define your legacy. Reaction videos amplified the drama even further. Clips highlighting ICE's calm but cutting remarks, Queenzflip stammers, and the awkward silences became viral sensations. Fans debated endlessly: was Queenzflip simply outmatched, or had he intentionally chosen a path of subtle humility that only made the awkwardness more pronounced? Every interpretation fueled the conversation, ensuring the topic stayed at the forefront of hip-hop discussions. Meanwhile, ICE's camp began subtly shaping the next stage of the narrative. Social media posts, interviews, and upcoming appearances were all designed to maintain momentum and reinforce his dominance. Every move was strategic, ensuring the conversation remained on his terms while Queenzflip scrambled to regain composure. The public watched closely, realizing that the story had become more about power and perception than just the podcast itself. Industry analysts also pointed out that moments like these set precedent. The Joe Budden podcast had inadvertently become a case study in how public confrontations can redefine respect and credibility in hip-hop. ICE had shown that a single, well-executed appearance can control a narrative, elevate influence, and turn a simple disagreement into a cultural moment that resonates across social media, blogs, and forums. By the end of the week, the story had taken on a life of its own. Fans continued to debate, dissect, and meme the moment, while insiders speculated about potential responses from Queenzflip. Would he release a statement, a song, or a social media post to reclaim credibility? Or would he let the moment define him in the public eye? Every choice carried consequences, and the anticipation only added fuel to the fire. Even beyond the immediate drama, the confrontation had lasting implications for how artists approach public appearances. Podcasts, interviews, and live discussions were no longer just platforms for promotion. They were arenas where reputations are tested and narratives are fought. ICE had turned the Joe Budden podcast into a masterclass in dominance, showing the importance of timing, tone, and control in high-stakes interactions. As the digital dust began to settle, One thing was certain: this confrontation would be remembered. Ice's assertive approach, Queenzflip's awkward responses, and the viral aftermath created a moment that transcended a single podcast episode. It became a lesson in strategy, narrative control, and the raw power of public perception. Ultimately, this wasn't just about who won or lost. It was about influence, respect, and the stakes of visibility in the modern hip-hop world. Ice had demonstrated that dominance isn't just measured in music or social media followings. It's proven in real time, under pressure, in front of millions of eyes. Queenzflip's momentary struggle became a cautionary tale. In an age of virality, a single slip can echo far beyond the room, shaping how fans, peers, and the industry perceive you. And while the cameras had stopped rolling, the ripples of this confrontation continued to spread. The conversation wasn't over, it had merely evolved, leaving fans, insiders, and artists alike waiting for the next move. In hip-hop, one explosive moment can redefine reputations, and this confrontation had done exactly that. The stage was set, the players were in motion, and the world was watching, because in this game, every word, every glance, and every pause matters. Yo, if you thought the Joe Budden podcast was just another interview, think again. Ice just turned the tables on Queenzflip in a way that left fans speechless. From the awkward pauses to the explosive comebacks, every second of this confrontation was dripping with tension, drama, and straight-up street-level intensity. And the craziest part? The fallout didn't stop when the cameras cut, clips went viral, memes were made, and the internet hasn't stopped debating who came out on top. Now, it's your turn to witness the full chaos. Watch Ice assert dominance, see Queenzflip struggle under pressure, and feel the awkward energy that has everyone talking. This isn't just a podcast moment, it's a lesson in respect, reputation, and narrative control in hip-hop. The way Ice handled the situation proves that strategy, timing, and confidence can turn any confrontation into a historic moment. So don't miss a second, hit that play button, watch the full clips, and join the conversation that's taking over social media. Comment your thoughts, share your favorite reactions, and tell us, who do you think really won this showdown? Stay tuned, because in hip-hop, every word, gesture, and pause can change everything. Ice has set the stage, and now it's your time to witness history. Click, watch, react, and be part of the debate before it explodes even further.